Chapter 4. Understanding Taxes. There is a reason the rich keep getting richer, and the middle class and poor rarely do. The rich don't pay taxes. Kiyosaki further argues that the rich will likely never pay taxes for a few reasons. First, the government incentivizes business owners and investors to create jobs and housing by giving them tax breaks. Secondly, the rich have enough clout to push back against high taxes. They can hire lawyers or accountants to figure out loopholes. This means the only place for the government to drive tax revenue is from the middle class. Kiyosaki argues that the rich aren't taxed and will never be, because they use their resources to find tax breaks, loopholes, and other ways to minimize their tax burden. The average American has to work 4 to 5 months to cover their taxes. Moreover, the harder one works to make money, the more in taxes one needs to pay. Thus, Kiyosaki encourages individuals to think like the rich and limit the amount of taxes they pay through a few legal strategies. One possible avenue for limiting one's taxes is by forming a corporation. What most people don't know, Kiyosaki explains, is that corporations are not really anything. A corporation is merely a file folder with some legal documents in it, sitting in some attorney's office and registered with a state government agency. Furthermore, Kiyosaki explains that corporations are easy to set up and generally inexpensive if you own investments that produce cash flow. Corporations are useful for a few reasons. The first is that the tax rate for a corporation is lower than the tax rate for an individual. The second is that certain expenses can be deducted from your income before taxes. Board meetings in Hawaii, car payments, and even some meals can be claimed as business expenses if you run a corporation. This means corporations will only be taxed on the sum remaining after their expenses. Corporations are taxed at lower rates than individuals and can deduct certain expenses pre-tax. Another means by which the rich limit their taxes is to familiarize themselves with the tax code. For example, Section 1031 of the U.S.'s Internal Revenue Code permits a seller to hold off paying taxes on a property if they use the profit to buy a more expensive property. As long as you keep trading up in value, you will not be taxed on the gains until you liquidate, Kiyosaki explains. Learning loopholes like this, or hiring people like attorneys and accountants who know of them, can help you gain an advantage. Chapter 5. Make Opportunities. Financial success can sometimes feel like a rigged game. We assume only those that draw the right cards can succeed and get ahead. Kiyosaki argues that financial success isn't about naturally having opportunities. It's about creating them when you don't. Rich Dad would often tell him that money isn't real. The rich find ways to invent it, even when they don't have it. If we can follow suit, we can create opportunities where there are none. Kiyosaki shares one example of a time he created money. While Kiyosaki lived in Phoenix, Arizona in the 1990s, the economy was in turmoil. If he had been like any other person, he might have seen this as a sign to save more money. Instead, Kiyosaki looked for opportunities. He went to a bankruptcy attorney's office and found homes originally marketed for $75,000, selling for $20,000 or less. His friend loaned him $2,000, which Kiyosaki used as a down payment for one $20,000 home. As the paperwork was being filed, Kiyosaki put up an advertisement for the house, valuing it at $75,000 and offering it for $60,000 with no money down. That same day, prospective buyers lined up and the house sold in minutes. Kiyosaki asked the new owners for a $2,500 processing fee and handed off the property to the escrow and title company. He returned the $2,000 to his friend, along with an additional $200, and paid the remaining balance on the house. Kiyosaki concludes that he created over $40,000 from nothing in just 5 hours. Rather than rely on luck, the rich invent money. They create their own opportunities for success. When Kiyosaki shares examples like these, he's often met with resistance. People will argue that such strategies might work in Arizona, but not in New York or larger cities. Whenever I hear someone say, "You can't do that here," pointing at me, I remind them that maybe the real statement is, "I don't know how to do that here, yet," he responds. For example, Singapore's real estate market is booming, but one can still find reasonable prices a short drive away. Kiyosaki argues that opportunities always exist, we just need to find them. Applying this frame of mind to all your financial strategies can help you make money more easily. As we saw with Kiyosaki's initial real estate investment, even a little money can go a long way. So instead of thinking to yourself, "I can't afford this," think, "How can I afford this?" Kiyosaki also recommends turning your attention towards opportunities others might not see. For example, instead of buying a package of investments, look at specific stocks you think will do well that others may have overlooked. Over time, you'll get better at finding opportunities and assessing which will pan out. A little money can go a long way if you can learn to recognize opportunities and assets that others overlook. Chapter 6. Keep learning. Kiyosaki tells the story of an interview he had with a young reporter about his book, Secrets of Being Rich. The writer shared that she dreamed of becoming a best-selling author like Kiyosaki, but that her novel hadn't sold. Kiyosaki suggested that she attend a sales training course. She angrily said that she hated salespeople and didn't understand why he would recommend that. Kiyosaki pointed to his book and explained, "It says best-selling author, not best writing author." He argued that with her natural talent and newly learned sales skills, she could be a success. The writer refused to take Kiyosaki's advice. She insisted that she didn't obtain a master's degree to become a salesperson and stormed out of the room. The writer's behavior is not uncommon. Most people are wary to change and are too tied to their professional identity. This issue is only compounded by the fact that we're told from an early age to specialize our skills in order to increase job security. We tend to believe that the more specific knowledge we acquire, the more we'll get paid for it. However, this isn't always the case. If you've specialized in something very specific, it can put you at a disadvantage if no one is hiring for that particular skill. Highly specializing your skills can sometimes put you at a disadvantage, especially if no one is hiring for your specific skill set. Thus, Kiyosaki believes learning a variety of skills is key to growing your wealth. Kiyosaki shares 4 types of skills he recommends for financial well-being: accounting, financial literacy, or the ability to read numbers; investing, the science of making money; marketing, sales skills or understanding the science of supply and demand; law, the awareness of accounting corporate, state, and federal regulations. Making money is much easier when these skills can be used in combination, Kiyosaki argues. For example, had the writer considered acquiring marketing skills, she could have become the best-selling author she longed to be. In his own life, Kiyosaki often switched jobs to acquire new skills. He worked in accounting, sales, marketing, and more. He even became a ship's officer so that he could learn more about international trade in emerging markets where they traveled. These skills weren't focused on getting another job or a higher salary. They were skills that would help Kiyosaki become rich. I recommend to young people to seek work for what they will learn, more than what they will earn. Look down the road at what skills they want to acquire before choosing a specific profession and before getting trapped in the rat race. Ask yourself, is the skill you're learning going to give you a leg up in your journey for financial independence? If not, perhaps consider a pivot to another job where you can learn more evergreen skills like sales, marketing, or managing people. By focusing on learning skills that will serve you in the long term, you can grow your career rather than stay tied to your profession. Many people are just one skill away from great wealth. Kiyosaki suggests learning skills related to law, marketing, investing, and accounting.